Hello, welcome to Topaasia live webinar. Today we have interesting topic. It's kind of world premiere for telling about special research results we have on Topaasia. And the topic is how to facilitate continuous dialogue. And as I said, I really like to tell you about research, based on research results. How to facilitate continuous dialogue. So the goals of the talk, I have 3 points today. It's that I really want to integrate the research that has been made and also the practical perspective to Topaasia serious game. And the second point is how to facilitate successful game with Topaasia, which is a practical perspective. And the third is how and why to make dialogues continuous in organization, which is a challenging one. But this is something that we really would like to have more, to make serious gaming more strategic. A bit of a warning for you, I have a lot of material and a lot of information here, which I'm going to skip quite a lot of slides here, but still, first of all, I would like to kind of have some kind of definition about Topaasia as a serious game. It is a design game which works on company culture, more specifically through guided continuous dialogues. And of course, design games can be defined as simultaneously tools, mindset, and structures. And they are in general played for a serious purpose to solve a specific problem. But the Topaasia game system is customizable. So the topic is customizable as the kind of deck contents that we can create with AI game creator, which we are going to test today as well. And also the crystallization that is in the end game is also can be customized. So it can kind of, the whole game can be customized based on customers' needs. But let's open some kind of general concepts which tell us why we should kind of use playful methodology. The first one is the playful mindset, which is important now is that the brain functions differently during gameplay than outside of the game, so which is quite interesting. And according to psychologist Michael Apter, in games we are using paratelic playful mindset. What is kind of interesting in that then challenges are seen as more interesting things as opposed to threats, which kind of normally we tend to think a new thing, for example, as a threat. So he uses sailing as an example alone in a sailboat. Facing strong winds can be seen as a challenge. But of course, if the wind turns too strong, you suddenly fear for your life and it's no longer fun. Playful mindset is closely connected to Csikszentmihalyi's flow concept, where losing the track of time and experiencing joy in the activity. But of course, if the activity of the game is too difficult, it can cause stress, or vice versa. If it's too easy, then we get bored. But good game can foster flow experiences in organizational settings, and we really need the playful mindset. And why we need the playful mindset in organization development is to discuss challenging topics, but also to envision the possible futures. So we need the ability to play with ideas. We are not motivated by having fixed discussions, which are kind of already kind of decided what to say and what to think. So in that sense, we are kind of creative individuals. But of course, now based on the research that has been made on Topaasia game, it's very important. The context is very important. So it's very crucial who are actually initially participating the game. And when the kind of group of people are the right ones who are supposed to be participating, Topaasia can be very efficient in bringing the results. So it's kind of playing with loaded dice. The context you use affect the actual results of the game, and also the findings and propositions from the games. Topaasia can also break discursive limits, which means that it has the ability to break hierarchies and power structures, which means that if facilitated efficiently, you can have people talking to each other and dropping rank to some extent. And the executives are not gaining any extra points, but they are one of the players. So then it kind of can work to also break discursive limits. And also, Topaasia engages people into play. And even if you are immersed in the game, you are able to still follow what is happening, as that is the purpose of the game. And that is also the elegance and the benefit of good, serious games. So you can really immerse into a game, but at the same time kind of work with the serious stuff. And you, as one result, you don't have to make a summary afterwards of the game, as it is created during the game, which makes actually the continuous and strategic dialogue possible. So you can get back to the results and data and use that afterwards to have new discussion and dialogues, and kind of have a process of development and thinking together. And games in general don't include actually reflection while playing, but Topaasia in this game as a design game is an exception, because the players are playing with the reflexive side also. We are reflecting on things that we see on the cards. And of course, organization also have genres which Topaasia can break. The research on Topaasia shows that actually we tend to kind of work in genres, and organizational talk can be kind of fixed and jaded. And this can be also interpreted as cultural practices or discourses, meaning that the dialogue between the manager and the assistants follows a certain format that is usually repeated without new knowledge creation. But session of Topaasia is disruptive and can break these practices. And we can create new structures that doesn't fit the earlier practice or routine. And with this, you can actually make miracles if you engage the right stakeholders into the game. And one of the phenomena as well is a playful alibi, which is something the game provides. So with having the kind of focus and alibis in the game means that we cards mainly say it, because we are playing this game and following the rules, so we don't have to worry about talking about this difficult thing, because it's in the game rules. So we have to kind of we can use that alibi in addressing some difficult issue that is real. And also we can also hide in the game that who suggests, for example, what card, or who has kind of selected what card. So that gives also more room for expressing different thoughts. Sometimes we need also shock value, which means that if the organization is somehow stuck or jaded or cannot really address certain things, we have, for example, this certain kind of breaking this kind of ideas that are jaded through certain decks that we have. So in that sense, we also can have through play safety to fail safely, which mean that you don't have to be afraid of the consequences of what you say because it's kind of is in the cards or it's happening during the game. So there are also this kind of we found out that there were these silent gatekeepers, or Harviainen found out that there were silent gatekeepers in every gameplay, which means that if the game is not going too well, we might have this kind of silent gatekeepers who are someone who controls what can be said with mere presence, gestures, or facial expressions. So they are present in most serious game sessions. So especially in non-flat situation where there are hierarchies. So we need for reducing the effect of these kind of gatekeepers. But they can also bring some positive things into the dialogue. But if it happens that they are not, we need to kind of facilitate that in a way that they are not affecting the actual dialogue. Because they can break or disrupt the playful alibis. And that's how we don't get the positive results if they have too much impact. And in the research, Topaasia game was seen through 8 systems intelligence factors, which I'm not going to kind of go through them all, but just selecting ones that, following these factors together using Topaasia, lead to positive results in workplace well-being and more productive results, which is quite a powerful statement. One of them, and the first one, is the positive attitude. You kind of need to take care of that. This is what we usually get from play anyway. So great majority of people attitude is positive towards gameplay. So we like play, and it is inherent in our nature, and we can use that as to our advantage. And through structured play, we react positively to the expectation of play, and only 1% of the population doesn't like games because they dislike losing or are too competitive. But even in Topaasia game, which isn't a competitive one. So, or then these 1% of people could not find the function for it. So I guess we need to kind of take care of that people understand why we are playing together. Another factor is attunement, which is kind of quite related to the previous one, which means that your silent presence or positive silent presence and empathy towards other people in a game is very crucial. So we have to kind of think that, okay, is the attunement for support or gatekeeping? And if we can guide the game the right way, it becomes the sense of support. So maybe a tiny nod to someone who is playing a card is enough. Or it can be gatekeeping, where with the clans we make sure that when a person we don't like is not feeling good playing their cards. So that kind of counts as gatekeeping. And that, of course, is a negative impact. So make sure you achieve positive spirit, as it may define the difference between a good or a bad game. And that means also a good or a bad dialogue, or a good or a bad meeting. Or is it a productive meeting, or a useful or not useful meeting? So that's a very, very important factor. And of course, once we start to get results through the dialogue, so it is important that we make new discoveries and being enthusiastic of our discoveries through play. And this happens in a good game session. But spirited discovery is rarely sufficient alone. We need wise action and effective responsiveness. And this means, well, I guess the good kind of line to kind of really crystallize this is that nothing kills interest more effectively in organizational development than ideas are constructed and never taken further. So it is very important that people see that this actually leads to something, and we have positive engagement with the findings and willingness to take things further and making it real. So after a good game, you need tools to help you explain things to others. Crystallization come very useful at this point. So of course this means that in Topaasia you have the kind of data that is gathered and the crystallization are made, and this means also that continuous dialogue possibility and means that it changes into a process and sequences of dialogues. And we can use Topaasia in all of the discussions, that after the one game leads to another game, and we kind of record the data and to be able to share with everybody the results and the actions that we want to take. And one nice thing is also the power of a positive conflict. If we think of the facilitation of the sessions, it could be easy that everyone just agrees on some topics, but you don't get actually through that kind of activity nothing more than a monologue. And the tool is not actually made for that. So sometimes the positive conflict is a strength. So you should kind of facilitate towards debating over cards which to choose together, which means that you are creating an artificial conflict which are at heart of the Topaasia game. So it's more likely to get results by causing these kind of positive conflicts. And afterwards, if we are talking about an individual game, when making games systematic and continuous, you can actually gain all the benefits of play. And it could seem weird in the beginning that we start to use the tool in, for example, many meetings. But after that weirdness, people start to actually enjoy the meetings more, and they commit to making things real more. And that kind of engages people into the work and the project that is kind of igniting. So that means continuous dialogue means that, okay, we need a dialogue, not a monologue. And that needs, of course, some facilitation skill and forethought before individual gameplay to avoid the kind of structured monologues that could happen. But thank you very much. I actually end my talk here by thanking you all. Have a nice day.